I was recently speaking with somebody about how their Lent is going. And as they got to sharing, they were telling me that they began Lent with all of these great ideas on what they were going to do, things they were going to work on, ways in which they were going to grow. And it involved all these difficult penances. But then they said that nothing has compared with the inconveniences that have just shown up in their life in these last couple of weeks as there have been more and more precautions. They need to stay home. And he said that it suddenly didn't matter. Any of the penances that he came up with didn't matter if he's going to be impatient at home and uncharitable with appointments online. And he realized there's actually a lot of virtue, there's a lot of merit in just accepting whatever it is God's placed in our path rather than going and looking for something else. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that experience. I remember in seminary, I did a whole, just as a young seminarian, I did a whole lot of comparing with other people. And I look at these guys sometimes who are wonderful holy priests now, and I remember thinking, man, he's just so good at penance. Like he can do a second holy hour and he'll do it all on his knees on the marble in the chapel. And I'm having a hard time staying awake at 6 in the morning for my holy hour. And I did a lot of comparing. And I think for a while there, I convinced myself that if I'm going to be really, truly holy, then I need to have more difficult penances. And it wasn't until I read a really beautiful book that my mind was changed on this whole thing. There's a book called Abandonment to Divine Providence. And in this book, it's kind of the spirituality of just accepting whatever it is God has planned for you in the given moment. So I want to read to you a quote from that book. The author says this: "If you could realize the merit concealed in the actions of each moment of the day, and I mean in each of the daily duties of your state of life, you would indeed be happy." I don't know about you, that's a pretty powerful quote to me. That means that there is more holiness packed into the moment that God has given to me than if I were to go out and seek some really dramatic penance that's really difficult and do it really well. There's more merit because there's a humility required of us when we just accept whatever God has placed in our lap. So for some, that might mean that in the midst of this self-quarantining, that we're called to be more patient with the people around us in our homes, or to be more charitable when the kids are in a fight and then you got to go downstairs and break up the fight, or be more accepting of that painful sense of loneliness and enter into the silence and enter into the prayer that the God seems to be opening up for us. I remember when I was in seminary, for me, the big struggle was getting up in the morning. I hated with a passion getting up at 5:35 in the morning because I needed to be ready to get off the 6 a.m. holy hour. And that was a big struggle for me. And there were lots of days, honestly, where the alarm went off and I just ignored it and I rolled over and I decided it's just easier to apologize later to the rest of the guys that I didn't show for holy hour than to just get out of bed. And then I read this book and I came across this line, and it struck me so deeply that the holiest thing I can do in any given moment is whatever God has planned for me. And that meant that at 5:35 in the morning, the holiest thing for me to do was to get out of bed and get ready for the day. And honestly, that was the click. That was the thing that changed for me. And it made everything so much more light, so much more liberating. I didn't have to experience the inconveniences of the day as inconveniences. Every one of them is suddenly seen as an opportunity for growing in virtue, growing in holiness. Here is another quote from that same book, same chapter, in fact. "Holiness will cost you no more than to do what you are doing, to suffer what you are suffering. Only act and suffer in a holy manner." So do what we're doing, suffer what we're suffering, but do it in a holy manner. That is the best thing that we can be doing. But that means we have to change our mind. It means that we have to decide that holiness is the most important thing. Holiness is more important than comfort. Holiness is more important than convenience. When we put holiness at the center, and it's the focus of everything that we're doing, then it colors everything. But there is so much holiness to be had by accepting from God's hands whatever comes to us. The Lord is giving us an invitation to accept every day and every moment right now and to make that our penance. We don't need to go in search of something else. If you could realize the merit concealed in the actions of each moment of the day, you would indeed be happy. God bless you.